The laughter hit me first. It wasn't the kind of laugh you share with your spouse, the private kind that carries the weight of years and inside jokes. No, this was lighter, flirty. A sound that danced through the kitchen air and settled under my skin like a splinter. "Oh, you're terrible, Kevin," she said between giggles, one hand clutching her phone, the other stirring the pasta sauce half-heartedly. Kevin, her work husband. That phrase had started as a joke, something she'd once said with a dismissive shrug when I raised an eyebrow at their closeness. "Relax, Liam. He's harmless. Everyone calls him that." But as I stood there now, watching her smile at her screen like a teenager, I realized there was nothing harmless about the way she said his name. We'd been married for 9 years. Not perfect years, but good ones, or so I thought. I'd known Marissa since college, back when she wore second-hand jackets and wrote poems in the margins of her notebooks. She used to say I made her feel seen. I used to believe her. Now she spent her days at a marketing firm downtown, often staying late for campaign deadlines or client dinners. I'd never been the jealous type, but lately, every late night felt like another stone added to a wall I didn't remember building. That night I set the table quietly. She was still on the phone. "He's ridiculous," she said, laughing again. "You should have seen him in the meeting today. He actually winked at the boss." Her laughter filled the kitchen, and I couldn't help myself. "Must be nice," I said, my tone sharper than I intended. She blinked, turning toward me, a flicker of guilt flashing across her face before she masked it with a small smile. "Oh, come on, Liam. Don't start. It's just a joke." "A joke?" I asked, my voice steady but low. "You talk about him more than you talk about us." She sighed, setting her phone down. "You're overreacting again. Kevin and I just get along. That's all. Do you laugh with him the way you used to laugh with me?" She frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" I wanted to say everything I'd been holding back, about the late-night texts, the new perfume she started wearing, the way her phone was always face down now. But instead I just said, "It means something's changed, Marissa." She didn't reply. She just turned back to the stove, her silence louder than any argument. The next few weeks passed in uneasy truce. She grew quieter at home, distracted. I started noticing small things, a new dress she said she bought on sale, lipstick shades I hadn't seen before, and once, a faint cologne on her scarf that wasn't mine. Every time I thought about asking directly, I froze. I didn't want to be the insecure husband. I wanted to trust her. Then one night I came home early. Her car was in the driveway, the lights on, but when I walked inside, she wasn't in the living room or kitchen. I heard her voice upstairs, low, laughing, intimate. I followed the sound to the bedroom door, left slightly ajar. She was sitting on the bed in her robe, hair still damp from the shower, her phone in her hand. "Stop it, Kevin," she said softly, smiling. "You're going to get me in trouble." I didn't move, didn't breathe. The way she said his name, it wasn't casual. It was tender, familiar. Then, as if sensing me, she glanced toward the door. Our eyes met through the narrow gap, and her expression froze. "Liam," she started, fumbling for words. I turned away before she could finish. That night we barely spoke. She tried to explain, saying it was harmless flirting, nothing physical, just fun. But her voice trembled. Her eyes wouldn't meet mine. "Do you realize what it feels like," I asked quietly, "to watch your wife light up for another man?" Tears filled her eyes, but they didn't move me. "Not anymore." "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered. "Then why do you keep doing it?" She didn't have an answer. I slept on the couch that night, staring at the ceiling until morning. The following days were an endless blur of avoidance. She'd wake up early and leave for work before I opened my eyes. I started working later myself, anything to delay going home to the silence. But one Friday evening she surprised me. When I walked in, the table was set. Candles flickered. Music played softly in the background, the same playlist we used to listen to on lazy Sunday mornings. "Dinner?" she asked with a hopeful smile. I thought maybe we could start over. For a moment I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that the woman standing there, wearing my favorite blue dress, her hair tied the way I loved, was still mine. We sat down and she talked. About work, about her coworkers, about how Kevin finally got the promotion he deserved. I froze mid-bite. She noticed immediately. "What? Did you have to bring him up tonight?" I said quietly. "It's just a topic of conversation, Liam. Don't do this." "No, you did it," I said, setting down my fork. "You flirt with him, you talk about him like he's your husband, and you expect me to sit here and smile?" She sighed. "You're making something out of nothing again." That was it. The last thread snapped. I leaned back, staring at her. "Then sleep in his bed tonight." Her face went pale. "What did you just say?" "You heard me," I said, my voice calm but cold. "If he makes you laugh that much, if he gives you what I can't, then sleep in his bed tonight." Her lip trembled. "Liam, that's not fair. What's not fair is being loyal to someone who treats your heart like an afterthought." She pushed her chair back and stood, her eyes shining with tears. "You don't understand." "Then make me understand," I said. "Tell me what's going on between you two." She hesitated, and in that hesitation I found my answer. Silence, guilt, avoidance. It was all there. I stood up slowly, grabbed my jacket, and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" she cried. "Anywhere but here." I stayed at a friend's place for a few days. Mark didn't ask questions. He just handed me a beer and turned on the game. That kind of quiet understanding was exactly what I needed. But every night, as I lay on the couch staring at the ceiling, memories came back. Her laughter, our wedding vows, the way she used to fall asleep with her hand on my chest. And then, inevitably, the image of her whispering into the phone, smiling for someone else. I checked my phone constantly, waiting for her to text. She didn't. Until the fifth night. "Marissa, can we talk? Please." I stared at the message for a long time before replying. "Tomorrow." When I walked into the house the next evening, everything felt strange. Familiar yet foreign. She was sitting on the couch, pale and tired, eyes red from crying. "I messed up," she began. "I didn't sleep with him, Liam. But I thought about it. And that's just as bad." Her honesty hit harder than any lie could. "I felt invisible," she continued. "You've been so distant lately, so focused on work, on fixing things around the house, on everything but us. Kevin made me feel seen again. It wasn't love, it was attention." I sat down across from her, my heart aching. "So you traded our marriage for attention." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I didn't mean to. I just got lost." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then I said quietly, "You could have come to me." "I know," she whispered. "And I'm sorry." We talked for hours, about everything that went wrong, about how far we'd drifted, about the cracks we'd ignored. But something inside me had shifted. The trust that once anchored us had snapped, and no apology could rebuild it overnight. "I'll stay with my sister for a while," she said finally, standing. "You deserve space to think." I nodded, unable to speak. When she left, the silence that followed was heavier than any argument. Weeks passed. She texted sometimes. Polite, distant messages about bills or the dog. I replied with the same empty courtesy. One afternoon I got a letter in the mail. No envelope, just a folded sheet of paper in her handwriting. "Liam, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I want you to know I ended things with Kevin before it went further. I've been seeing a counselor, trying to understand why I broke something so good. I don't expect you to come back. I just needed to tell you I'm sorry. You were always my home, even when I forgot how to stay. Marissa." I sat on the porch for a long time after reading it. There was no anger left in me. Only sorrow for what we had, for what we lost, for the love that had slowly bled out between the cracks of pride and neglect. I folded the letter carefully and tucked it into my jacket pocket. That night I made dinner for one. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that used to make me restless. But now it just felt peaceful, honest. For the first time in months, I slept without dreaming of her laughter. Epilogue. Months later, I ran into her at a cafe downtown. She looked different, softer somehow, calmer. We exchanged small smiles, polite words, nothing more. As she turned to leave, she said, "You look better, Liam." "Happier." "I am," I replied. "I think we both are." She nodded, her eyes glistening, and walked away. And as I watched her disappear into the crowd, I realized that sometimes the hardest part of love isn't losing it. It's learning when to stop fighting for what's already gone.